So congratulations, class of 2026. For those of you, like I said, who don't know me, I'm Nina Roa. I am the Associate Director for Career Development and Placement. And I just want to talk, hopefully for not more than 5 minutes before we bring up our panel, about some of the resources that still exist to alums, even though you're graduating from the program. Because this program is like, for those of you who get the reference, and I am Gen X, Hotel California. Yes? Okay. You can graduate, but you cannot leave. Okay. So, just so you know, regardless of your status as a student or as an alum, I am still available to conduct resume reviews, cover letter development and reviews. We can talk about job search strategy. We can prep for interviews. We can discuss networking strategies and gain access to industry professionals. So everything that Sierra talked about, I can help you with. So don't think just because you've graduated, those services are gone. All you need to do is email me. And I'm going to email you all this presentation because there's my contact information and a lot of links to resources that I want you to have, and also some things I want you to tell me about you all. So you'll get this to me both in your student email but also in your personal email because I have those as well. Okay, I have to put my glasses on. Okay, so just a few things that I want to keep you aware of and have you check out these resources is that our MCSA page has a career services section, and I keep that up to date with current job opportunities plus some significant resources on networking opportunities, resources to attend conferences, state resources on all the cannabis administrations around the country. Also know that the MCSA alumni group is planning a fall 2026 reunion, most likely at a cannabis conference. Not sure exactly where, most likely this fall, but not sure exactly where. But again, check your email and I will share information on that. A few other resources to consider. There's a platform that's coming out soon called Work Life Leaf. It's a cannabis career development platform. I have access to it. It was developed by a MCST alum, Cento Sharp. Maybe some of the alums in here might know Cento. I have access to it. It is great, especially for those sort of transferable skills that Sierra was talking about. There's also the MCST LinkedIn page. Please follow that. I post on that quite often, either with job opportunities, networking opportunities, presentation opportunities. I also suggest people always join the Association for Cannabinoid Specialists. I think they still have a discount membership for students and recent grads. There's also the Cannabis Professional Network. This is sort of something that you join as an alum. And when you get this presentation, you can upload your profile. It's a great way to connect. It is just for MCST alums. So it's a great way to find each other. You can search by geographic location. You can search by area of specialty, area of interest, and it's just a great sort of safe way to connect with alums of the program. I use it all the time to find out what people are doing and then also to contact everyone and invite them back to be on panels. We also have a larger networking platform for the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy. Again, another great way to keep in touch with alums. Again, I use this platform quite often to find you and see what you're doing. There's sort of two databases that I keep. One is specifically for medical cannabis students and alums. This form or this database that I keep helps me connect you to specific opportunities. So I ask information about, what did you study in undergrad? What are your current interests? And where are you located geographically? And if I find some opportunities, I can search in my database and I can send them to you directly. So this one is one you'll get, and you can fill it out when you get the website, when you get my presentation. And then one that is more generic. Another one that I use, again, if you upload a profile and give me some information, This is used to invite you to grad gatherings as well as back to be speakers at our alum events. So, without further ado, this is my contact information. I know some of you already have it. And yeah, please don't leave us. You can't leave us. I will find you. Trust me, I will find you. But anyway, I will make sure you get this presentation so you all can access those resources, keep in touch with us. But now I'd like to invite our panel up to the stage. Thank you. Hello, how are you? Good. All right, so we have I'm going to try this. Is this on? Let's see. How do you turn this on? Oh, good. Okay. So we have a fantastic panel for you today. Dr. Johnson worked very hard in gathering everybody together. So I'm going to be moderating this panel, and so I'd like to start with everybody doing just a brief introduction from each panel member, and then I do have some prepared questions, but we will also have time for Q&A from the audience. So we can just sort of go down, starting here, and then if you would just introduce yourselves and just talk a little bit about your current role in the cannabis industry.
Hi, yeah, I'm Nate Green. I am co-founder and COO of Sun Extractions in New Jersey. I work in operations, product development, commercialization, and strategic growth in the New Jersey regulated market.
I'm Sarah Needham, and I currently work at iAnthus, and we have expanded our manufacturing and are opening a new manufacturing facility in Columbia, Maryland, where we do closed-loop hydrocarbon extraction. We will be doing solventless extraction, and we'll be making gummies, and I do quality assurance. And I used to say, no, I don't get to try the product, but in this new role, I actually get to try the product.
Hi, I'm Kathy Breeder. I own and run my own private consulting business. I do business educational consulting, and I am currently working with 2 new Maryland licensed social equity businesses. One's a women-owned dispensary coming to Hagerstown, which I'm super stoked about, and the second is a microgrow.
Hi everyone, my name is Raven Ariola. I'm the program director for Beale University's cannabis programs, so their cannabis business programs as well as their cannabis science and medicinal plant science programs, and I'm honored to be here. Thank you.
All right, terrific. Yes, all alums of our program. All right, so my first scripted question is, how has the MCST program contributed to and supported your career success in medical cannabis?
Yeah, so for me, I think what this program provided for me is credibility in an industry where many people claim expertise. This sets you apart, and particularly in my case, having that credibility and then getting out of the program is what led to multiple introductions that ultimately allowed me to co-found the company that I joined. So that credibility goes a long way, especially in an area where many people want to practice pseudoscience. You actually know these things, and it's going to set you apart.
I would definitely agree with credibility. My first job was in a third-party cannabis testing lab as a quality assurance person. So having that background in science was definitely key, because I came from the food service industry and had, other than personal use, no experience in cannabis.
I would say trust within the community. For me, a lot of my community, because I did own a previous business, knew me by face because I was there all the time. And through that transition, the trust that my community puts in me to be able to speak to them and share with them ways that they can improve has been a huge thing.
Yeah, I would agree with those as well. The credibility and then the authority is going to be granted as soon as you graduate, whether you like it or not. You are an authority figure in this space now. So get used to your family, your friends, fellow business owners asking you questions about cannabis. But for me, the biggest thing of value with the MCSG program is honestly the network. The people that you meet in here, you're going to know for the rest of your life. Even now, one of my instructors is an MCST grad. I still contact them. I use that professional network regularly. So the network that you're creating now is one of the biggest values as well.
All right, thank you. So what has been your greatest accomplishment, professionally or academically?
Yeah, so for myself, it's actually a recent one, and I'm extremely proud to have built a team that recently won 2 High Times Cannabis Cups in New Jersey. We placed in all 3 categories that we entered and won 2 of them, and to have built a team that won that was amazing, and really proud of our team.
I guess in an industry that's constantly moving and being a person who deals with regulations, I guess successfully being able to license facilities in 2 separate states is pretty successful, and hopefully now a 3rd facility to be licensed.
For me, my hugest accomplishment crosses over professionally and personally is through working with patients in the Maryland market, doing private consultations. I actually was able to transform a lot of stigma, lower that barrier of how they thought about things, and get them to think differently. Particularly, I won over both of my parents, who are from the Nixon administration, drinking the juice era. And when I told them I was going back to grad school and getting another degree, they were all excited. And to see their face when they're like, "What are you going to be studying?" And I was like, "Medical cannabis." Right? You could hear a pin drop. And my dad just looked at me and was just like, "What?" So getting them to then convert, they are both card-carrying members in the Maryland medical market. They both have replaced medications with medical cannabis. They both talk to everybody. And these are folks that are in their early 80s. So that was huge for me.
For me, I would say it's honestly more of a daily sense of accomplishment for being able to build out an educational program to influence students and, like you mentioned, kind of go home, educate their families, and inspire the next generation of change and hopefully build a better future and foster that compassionate future for cannabis we're all looking forward to. Also, being here feels like a great accomplishment, so thank you.
Great, thank you. So individuals starting out in this industry sometimes face obstacles. What kind of advice do you have about how to navigate difficult situations or adversity that our upcoming graduates may face, or any specific experience that you've had and overcome?
Yeah, so I mean, it's inevitable that you're going to face challenges. Things are going to go wrong. It's about how you respond through that. And particularly in a regulated environment, you don't want to panic, you don't want to rush and then immediately take action. What you want to do is come up with the solution, and then especially if it's critical, bring it to leadership before you act. It's great if you have the idea of how to fix a situation, but sometimes, especially using buggy compliance software or things that might, I guess, be in the record forever, you need to make sure that you align with leadership, especially in a challenging situation. So my recommendation there would be to take a deep breath. Things are going to happen. You're going to have to get through it, and it's natural to go through that. So just take your time, figure out a solution, and bring it to leadership before you move.
Research. Research, 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 research. Have your information. Know that when you open your mouth, what you are saying is based in objective evidence, coming from my quality days, because it will give you credibility, and like he was saying, you come with a solution, and be persistent, and trust me, I wish I knew this advice. I did know this advice, I just don't ever take it, is think before you open your mouth about what you're going to say. Because you're going to live and die in some hills. Sometimes there's some hills you don't need to die on.
I would say show up professionally, first and foremost, right? So you are a professional, you are a cannabis professional, and by showing up professionally, no matter how that looks, whether it's being on time, being early, your dress, how you carry yourself, how you articulate yourself, it also helps break down that stigma. And it gets people to think that this is just not a stoner's game, that there are people, you can be professional and still be a stoner.
Absolutely.
And to add to that, I would say don't be afraid to make mistakes as you go along your career. There's going to be mistakes that happen. We can come at them completely prepared. We can make sure that we advise leadership, and we can make sure that we're educated and we have our research. But at the end of the day, we're human. We're going to make mistakes. It's a new field, and we're all learning. And I think that sometimes those are the biggest points of education.
Okay, great. So thinking about some of the things that Sierra Parks was talking about, especially networking and building relationships in this industry, what advice do you have about building connections in the industry, how to make those inroads, especially if you are outside of the industry now and just completing this degree?
Yeah, so I think this is twofold. First would be in person, and then the other is digital. On the in-person front, you want to go to any networking events in your area, look up the cannabis brands that are around you in your state, see if they're doing any parties, if they do any annual gatherings. Go to any of those events in person, and then otherwise for conferences, there's many conferences that you can go to, and regardless of if you qualify for a ticket at them, like let's say MJ Unpacked, it's only for managers of companies and above. If you go and stay at that hotel or go to the bar, just go meet people around those conferences, there's thousands of people there. You're going to meet a lot of people, and regardless of if you can afford the ticket or qualify for it, you should go to that area and go speak to it. There's also plenty of after parties. Just go hang out around cannabis conferences, and you will make connections. Then, beyond that, I would say, I have personally hired people that have reached out to our website contact form. Say who you are, say what your background is, say the degree you got, and why you want to work for the company. You never know what it's going to turn into. Same thing goes for Instagram and LinkedIn. Reach out, have passion, show why you like the company, tell them a little bit about yourself, and maybe it'll turn into something.
Yes, exactly. But also, as I'm thinking about this, is what's interesting is that this is the second person in probably the last 5 days I've heard talk about doing the personal touch. Back when I started doing job hunting, I had matching paper on my typewriter. No, I did not send it. With the matching envelopes and that whole thing, and it was personal touch. You made contacts with people. And then everything got very online. And certainly job hunting on one hand is a lot easier than stuffing those envelopes and sending them out in the mail. But now you also have AI. And so when you send in those resumes, you got your AI bots going over everything. And the woman, actually it was on WTOP, said, if your mother knows somebody's second son's cousin, third mother by the fourth sister, use that contact to get that resume to hand to the person in my company, in any company, to me, so I can then hand it to our hiring manager. Speaking of that, a quality person just left Ianthus in Jersey. So if you have quality, there's probably going to be a job opening. And Jersey does manufacturing, and I don't remember if they have a grow or dispensaries, because it's a multi-state.
But yeah, I would agree with everything she just said.
I love you.
Yeah, you want to reach out to your personal connections. I ended up with all of my opportunities through networking, and I applied to plenty of jobs online. Not to say that you're not going to get them by applying online, because I've hired many people through that route as well, but you're then stacked up against many people. When you have a personal connection, you're able to get it directly to the people that might make those decisions.
Pass all the AI bugs. That's great.
Definitely in person and online events, particularly when you go to in person, introduce yourself. If you're in the Maryland area, connect with the Maryland Leaf events. While they, heavy on networking, they're also a very social event. And, seeing people and introducing yourself, you can recognize people from, profile pics, but it's kind of like, everybody is so back. So Raven and I are connected on LinkedIn, which is a huge thing, but it's the first time that we've met each other physically in person. But it's taking that initiative to go and chat with people face to face, I think that's.
Yeah, in a world that's not very face-to-face anymore.
I was actually going to say the same thing, that although we haven't met in person, we're already connected for a couple years now. But I would definitely emphasize the importance of using platforms like LinkedIn. I know it sounds cheesy, but truth be told, the meta platforms like Instagram, Facebook, etc., they're not super cannabis friendly. LinkedIn is actually a haven for cannabis professionals. So I highly recommend adding people on there. I've met lots of people. I've started a conference with people that I've just met over LinkedIn message. Additionally, I would recommend, as much as you can, meet as many people as you can, because although some people are working in advocacy, some are working in productivity, or some of them are working in QA and might have different disciplines within cannabis, we're all unified by that common goal. So that right there is a commonality that you can go ahead and start those relationships on.
Raven, will you just introduce yourself, tell them what you're doing in the cannabis industry, when you graduated this program, and then we were just talking about how to make connections in the industry.
Sure. My name is Raymond Chang. I started out in cannabis production here in Maryland at Evermore Cannabis Company. And then I made my way, after graduating from this program, I ended up at Green Analytics, a quality testing lab. And for networking, I would say that that's very, very important in this space, especially in cannabis. Because networking with other people, even people who are not in the same field or with the same background as you, just like Erin said, it's that collaboration is really, really important to get the things done that you want to do in this industry. My first job started with me going to a job fair. I was going to a dispensary, and I saw a job fair for Evermore Cannabis Company. So I decided to go, and I went and spent 2 hours there, and I walked around and talked to everybody there and introduced myself. And it turned out that the people I was talking to were all the heads of the different departments at Evermore. So in one afternoon, I went from I don't know anybody in the cannabis industry to having talked to head of the grow, head of production, head of processing, head of the dispensary. So you never know how networking will lead you to your next opportunity.
Thank you. Yeah, I highly recommend networking in person. I know everybody's not comfortable with that, but nobody really likes networking. But it does work. I have, for the other programs with which I work, I have made some great connections in the pharmaceutical industry. You just sort of have to put yourself out there, come up with an elevator speech, a little, 3 to 5 minutes about what you do and what you're interested in, and people do respond positively. And yes, LinkedIn is very cannabis friendly. So for there's been a lot in the news recently about cannabis, a lot of changes at the federal level. How do we stay on top of that? Busy professionals, what are some of the sources of information, of news, publications that you all follow to keep at least almost on top of everything that is going on in the industry right now?
Yeah, so for myself, to keep up to date with New Jersey changes, I'll watch the New Jersey CRC monthly meetings. So if in your state they stream the meetings, I would highly recommend watching those. And then also going to the state websites, they'll post any of the updates as far as like new regulations there. And then otherwise in New Jersey, there's multiple different influencers who happen to post on Instagram and other places anytime that some new legislation comes out, anything that happens in the state, whether it's brands, whether it's national news, and knowing who the local influencers in your area are and what they're posting, that will keep you up to date.
I completely agree with you. Those are really some excellent ways to keep up to date. I also go to YouTube. I love YouTube, and throw cannabis in and see what new videos are there on compliance stuff, because I'm a compliance nerd, on how, new things in processing. Has anything changed? How distillation is done, because I went from a testing lab and I'm now in a processing facility. So I have a little bit to learn on how things are done. So reading articles, doing searches, looking up a definition of a word, you're reading something and it takes you down a rabbit hole. Those are the kinds of things I do.
Get on and subscribe to newsletters, news events, happenings, weekly emails, and Cultivated News is a great location. They comprise a lot of different styles of politics, educational, some different news. They always have the links, and they'll always have study links within there. So for a consulting level, I'll always want to keep up on what the new studies are. So the JAMA network is also another great one to get on. Anything that's up and coming with medical-wise, you can connect there. As well as for Marylanders, keep up those law trackers. There's a lot of Maryland legislation that just went through this last session. Some are headed to governor's desk, so it's always good to keep your thumb on the pulse of your community and what is going on that affects you and the businesses that we're in.
And to add to those answers, I would also recommend leaning on your professional organizations like your Americans for Safe Access, Associations for Cannabinoid Specialists, NORML, et cetera. These are the organizations that publish out weekly newsletters, host weekly and monthly webinars, which usually have experts in the field that kind of discuss what any changes in cannabis legislation or science. The other thing that I would also recommend for staying on top of any type of developments in the space is to never convince yourself that you're an expert. Earlier I used the word authority as opposed to the word expert. Reason being, as soon as you think that your cannabis is going to keep us learning, that's the big part about it. So with that, just accept the fact that you are a lifelong learner. So you're on this path forever, going to be following the developments as they go.
And I'll top that with Society of Cannabis Clinicians, an excellent resource. They'll always have webinars and ongoing education, and you're learning from your peers and some of peers that are even above you, so to speak.
Those are really great answers. Those were my answers too. yeah, it is
mine
tough
too.
being last. But I would also say staying local is really important. So like the local Maryland Leaf events are really great because you get to meet people from other parts of the industry, and so lean on that, because what you are not an expert in or authority, your colleagues may be.
Okay, so before we turn it over to audience Q&A, so start formulating your questions, just from each of you, just one last piece of advice for the class of 2026.
Yeah, so I would say believe in yourself, be open to trying new roles. Don't be set on exactly what you want to do. Get into a place, show your knowledge, show your drive, and if you're dedicated and work hard, you're going to do just fine.
I would suggest being a speaker at events. I do that. A lot of times, I don't have to pay for the registration because I'm a speaker. I get introduced and around all the other speakers. So it's a great way to network with speakers without just having to, in a sense, cold call on them.
Start somewhere. Simply put, No matter what you're working on, it's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be just right. Start somewhere and keep moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Additionally, I would recommend to not forget why you're in the seat that you're currently in. The school equips you with a great education to actually navigate the world of cannabis in a regulatory environment, but your why, your personal story, is what's more valuable than anything as you move forward through your career. So I would hold that near and dear to your heart as you go forward with your mission with cannabis.
Yeah, those are all great pieces of advice. Networking is really important, and going out there, out of your comfort zone, is going to be really important. But my advice would be, you are not in an easy industry. This is an industry where it's very new, and people are looking to get into this. And just like me, you will run into roadblocks and obstacles. After graduating this program, it took me a year of networking and applying to jobs before I ended up at Green Analytics. And what you didn't see was the 100 rejections that I got.
Only 100?
So my suggestion is you'll get knocked down and you will have to get back up again and do the hard work. And you are very smart and capable and knowledgeable, because I've seen everybody else who has done this program, and just like them, you can do anything. You just have to keep getting up and keep trying.
All right, thank you. Oh, I have a piece of advice. Meet with career services. Right? Anyone? Okay, all right, thanks. All right, so I'm gonna come around. If you all have questions, we have microphones. Okay, here we go. You got that one? Okay, you grab that one? Okay, I'll come around too.
Okay, I have two questions. The first one is for the people from New Jersey. Are you going to the National Cannabis Industry Association lobby days tomorrow?
I will not be.
Okay. I'm in the New Jersey group, and we have room in our group for people from New Jersey. So that'd be
Yeah,
great.
let's chat about it after. I'm generally quite busy throughout the week, so I would love to be there, and we could talk about it.
Okay. And for Raven, can you tell me more about the program you designed, where you designed it at, the educational program you were talking about, and how you got that job?
Yeah, great question there. So to be fair, I didn't design it, but I did overhaul the program whenever I inherited it. Beale University is a small university in Maine that offers a cannabis business diploma, as well as an associate's degree, as well as a cannabis science bachelor's degree and an associate's degree, as well as a medicinal plant science degree. And really it focuses more on similar education like this, but the focus is on getting students career ready for cannabis, usually in 24 months or so. So really focusing on teaching them to find the best practices, how to monitor for developments and change in science or policy, et cetera. How I got the job was after completing this program here, I served as the Director of Education for the MCSA, the Student Association. And completing that, thank you. After completing that, I was hired on by a school called the Cleveland School of Cannabis, which similarly was like a training school, like a educational training school specifically for cannabis, getting people ready for immediate cultivation, dispensary management, that type of job. They taught students out of Ohio for a number of years, but eventually the school couldn't get funding anymore because of Schedule I, et cetera, et cetera. And eventually this program at Beale opened up because they were looking for a program director that was able to staff the whole thing and find educated professionals for it. And that's where MCST came in. Thank you.
Anyone else? Just raise your hand, I'll come to you. Oh, yep.
When you guys are networking, how do you try to make it to where you are very much memorable at the end, to where someone would be kind of like, okay, I'm looking at you specifically? What do you do to kind of make it to where at the end of all the networking events, people are thinking just about you? Or at least thinking more about you than other people? Like, what do you do to stay memorable?
I mean, for me, I would say just be your authentic self. People are going to be speaking to so many people that you can't guarantee that you're going to be the one that they remember. But the most important thing is to come across authentically, because if you look like you're trying too hard, it's not going to come across well. It's okay if you're nervous. It's okay if you're awkward. But as long as you're being yourself and that's what people remember, I think that's the most important thing.
Have a strong handshake. It's the first impression you are making with a potential employer, a potential contact, whatever. If you hand them a hand like this, that's their first impression. If you hand them a hand like this and shake, I'm a 5'3" woman. I used to work in politics. I shook hands all the time. I was 13 years old, and I'm shaking hands of men that are 4 times my age. No, nothing like the Epstein files. It was all good. But have that strong handshake. Matter of fact, if I remember correctly, a nun, may this woman rot in hell, told me that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, that's a hard line to follow. Ask questions back. As people ask you questions, that's a great question. Tell me more. So ask questions back, be inquisitive. Learning conversational skills and learning conversational small talk and how to relate to people is really a key piece.
Yeah, I would just say what Nate said times 1,000. Just be yourself, for sure. The biggest thing that I would recognize with that is, first off, you now have MS after your last name, which is a big one. But then additionally, by signing up for this program and enrolling in this, you've already signaled to the world and to yourself that you think differently than others. So just be 100% yourself, and that will shine through.
Anyone else? More questions? We have time. A little bit.
And then the one thing I would follow up on that is to also dress well and present yourself well. That first impression is really important. Dressing well and having a good handshake will go a long way.
And call them by their first name or call them by their name once you know it. Calling people by their name is very important. I wish everyone wore name tags.
I got you.
They do.
Just to confirm, when you do make a connection with someone at an event, how soon should you follow up with them, unless you already said that, and I apologize if you have?
I mean, honestly, sometimes at an event, I will message or type out an email to them, get their email, write a little bit about what I spoke to them about, and either put it into my drafts or send it immediately and saying like, hey, John, great to meet you. Let's chat about this. And then when I go back, because sometimes at a networking event, I'll meet 30 plus people. You're not going to remember every single conversation and all of the details of it. So to make that connection instantly and then kind of like connect it to what you're hoping to accomplish with them, whether that be, hey, let's get our products in your dispensary. Hey, I would love to talk about how I could help in packaging, whatever that might be. Setting that like little sticky note in your mind of where to follow up is important. But you could send a message while you're still at the event.
Find a little unique nug of information about the person. They're from a place in England that you visited, something like that. Because then when you make that contact, it's a more personal one-on-one. It shows that you were paying attention to what they said. That may be the only thing you remember about what they said, but they don't know that. So pay attention. And then recount that and say, so nice to talk to you about Bristol, England. It was such a great visit when I was there. Moving forward, that cannabis thing you were talking about too, and blah, 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 blah. I'm not as quick as you are, as far as I'd like to wait a day or two. And so that gives them time to kind of recover from the event, work, whatever. And then they're like, oh yeah. And then I stand out because it's a day or two later. They still remember me, but I stand out because they don't have as many emails from the people they met.
You have a good memory, and I got my PhD in Bristol.
It's one of my favorite places in England.
As they say, the fortune's in the follow-up. and it stands true in business on every event. I'm a huge advocate even of a handwritten note, particularly based on the interaction if it deems it. It is something that stands out. People don't get a lot of snail mail anymore. And if you can do anything that stands out, if you have a unique name, have a quick jingle with it. We had a server the other week, and being from restaurant industry specifically, and the server introduced herself. She said, "My name's Jen, just like the liquor, only quicker." Look, I'm telling her story here. Like, I remembered that, right? So just have something quick that rolls off, but is authentic too, and it's fun. Those little things can stick out.
I honestly am unsure if there's an appropriate time to follow up. I'm not good at that kind of social stuff. I usually give it like 1 to 3 days or so I'm not at the top of their inbox and get drowned out by everyone else. But if I had a realistic, authentic interaction with them, I can bring up something like that. I'm a big proponent for just asking lots of questions, as many as you can. At the end of the day, people want to feel heard. And if you're the candidate that comes up to them and you're not there just asking about, hey, what jobs do you have open? Can I help you with this? And you're more so just learning about their operation, you yourself are more equipped to be able to help them.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much I can add to these great answers, but it's very important that you be authentic and that because to build a meaningful connection, you don't want to just be using somebody to get a job. It's really about getting to know somebody, and that's what a meaningful connection is, because you don't know how that person will lead you to the next connection or to the next connection. So, and to answer your question, I like to respond within a day or two. I create a little list in my drafts, and I knock that out right away because I want to follow up right away.
To add to that, one thing that was taught to me a few years ago that seemed to be really beneficial was kind of like a personal CRM system, to where you're literally just noting things of people that you've met, even if they're not someone that's particularly close to you. But at one of these events, you might meet 30 to 70 people, so you might notice, like, hey, so-and-so has French bulldogs, just something like that, or so-and-so is going to be in the Bahamas for this week. It seems to be really helpful whenever you're going back through your list, whenever you're commenting, and you can actually talk to them about something relevant in their life as well.
2 minutes. One last question, anyone? Here we go. Over here. All right, I'm coming.
I'll be quick. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming and speaking to us. And congratulations, everybody. Give yourself a pat on the back. At some point, you were a beginner at what you are currently doing. When you are approaching a new experience, can you give any advice as to how you have most efficiently caught up with a certain skill or approached learning something new? Because we all have like our strengths, and then when we approach something new, like, can you give any advice on how to efficiently catch up so that you can rise to the occasion and meet a new opportunity without waiting too long or kind of losing that like momentum for a new opportunity, essentially?
I'll go ahead and speak on that a little bit. I would recommend, if you can, trying to find a mentor or someone in the space that has made the mistakes I mentioned earlier. They've made the mistakes and they've learned from them, so that can help you expedite your experience a little bit more, and to make sure that you're educated with the best industry vetted practices as well.
Surrounding yourself with people that do things better than you and learn from them. Kind of like the mentor, but that could be, relatable in a lot of different ways.
Great question. As I mentioned, in November, I started working at a processing plant. Never worked at a processing plant. Had a general idea of how processing was done, but way up here, not all the nitty-gritty details. So what I do is I go to the experts, the people who actually do the process. I talk to the lab manager. I talk to the lab techs. I go into the rooms. I watch. I ask questions. I then go and read about it. Then I come back and ask more questions. And then I go read about it again. And then I ask more questions. Then I ask my coworkers. So I'm always gathering information. So now I can tell you how to hydrocarbon extract cannabis. We're waiting for the solventless and the gummies. That I haven't learned yet. But the thing in cannabis, Every day is something new. Every single day, sometimes every single hour is something new. So you have to be open to it. And if something smells fishy and someone's telling you a piece of information that smells fishy to you, go research it. Because people will tell you fishy information. Been there, didn't like it. And I went and researched and knew it was fishy. So research and go to the people who do the process, because they're the ones who are going to know. They may not be the most scientifically educated people, but they're going to know the nuts and bolts of whatever it is.
Yeah, I would completely agree with all of that advice. And then one way to build off of that is that now with AI, there's less of a barrier to learning things. And I wouldn't necessarily trust everything that AI would tell you on a topic. But what it can allow you to do is you could ask what questions you should go ask a lab manager. Ask what questions I should go ask a packaging manager. And when you go in with informed questions, people are more likely to respect and want to provide that to you. So don't use AI to answer the questions for you, but it can give you questions to ask on a topic that you might not know anything about. And that gets you a lot farther.
For a last question, in one phrase or one sentence, as a newly graduate, how would you present yourself to a general public, congressman, official in these positions of authority to convince them that, hey, I know what I'm talking about?
I can go. Yeah. I spent years working in politics. Present yourself just like we talked about, professionally. And we know when you say, oh, blah, 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 cannabis, everyone goes, This school, there's other programs out there, and they're good programs. But this school has the gravitas. Everyone knows who the University of Maryland is. Everyone knows who the School of Pharmacy is. Everyone knows who Johns Hopkins is. Everyone knows who we are. And so when they start that, go, well, you know, I have a master's from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy in Medical Cannabis Science and Therapeutics, mic drop. Since 2021, I've been using that phrase when people, want to give me a hard time. And like a lot of other people, my brother, straight-laced guy, wouldn't touch anything. I get an email from the other day. He wants to know what gummies to use for his pain and for sleep. Woohoo!
Yeah, I was just going to say, definitely everybody knows University of Maryland. It is a mic drop moment, and let that soak into them. And I think a big thing for me has always been, by pushing that envelope and putting the question back on them, is that medical cannabis is not going away, so how are you going to approach? Because they have to think about it. This subject is not going away, right? And it's becoming more complicated. And so putting yourself out as a form of a subject matter expert puts you in the confident position, and so stand there in your truth and not worried about being judged. It should be the other way around, so showing up confidently.
Yeah, you've already done the work here to get into this program. You've done the coursework, you've done the science classes. You are qualified to have this degree and to stand up there and tell people that you know what you're talking about. It's okay if you don't know, because you know how to look it up.
And don't be afraid to say, I don't know. Ever. Yeah. Ever.
And
I say it all the time.
I would just reiterate that as well. If you are struggling with any form of like imposter syndrome, or maybe this feeling of maybe I'm not an authority in this space, I would go ahead and nix that now, because absolutely there's only so many people in America that have a master's degree from the University of Maryland School of Pharmacy in medical cannabis science and therapeutics. So it is a mic drop moment, and be there to celebrate that.
All right, yes, so thank you, panel. I always think that hearing from our alums is the absolute best part of any of our symposiums. And so keep in touch with us, and that can be you next year. All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, so Eric, is there anybody out there? Okay, good. Everybody needs to hear this next part. This is about graduation. This is the fun stuff. But first things first, a quick announcement from our alum, Ms. Karen James.
Hi, everybody.
Lobby Day.
Thank you so much, and congratulations. This is amazing. I'm Karen James. I'm class of 23. I've been working in policy for the past 3 years, and I want to hold this up and show you. I'm in Ohio, and this is my Ohio medical card that is now my prescription for medical cannabis. 3 years ago, I could not say that. In fact, 3 years ago, I stood on here and presented my capstone, which talked about the FDA and the industry and in conversations that needed to happen for medical cannabis to happen on a federal level. And here we are. This is an inflection point. You are sitting in the literal embodiment of a century plus disparaging journey of medical cannabis, leaving healthcare and bringing it back into healthcare. So congratulations. This is a big inflection point. Your degree couldn't be more valuable and in demand at this moment, and I want you to walk around with that recognition and realization as you move into the spaces that need your expertise. Tomorrow and Thursday, I'm working as an advisor for Americans for Safe Access. We are the only patient-first nonprofit organization in this country, and we've been working in policy for over 20 years, 24 years to be exact. Tomorrow, Steph Scher, the executive director of Americans for Safe Access, will be holding an information session in the Glover Park Hotel in Georgetown. I welcome you to come. I would hope that you could make it. If you can, consider it continuing education. If you've never received sort of a briefing on policy by Steph, this couldn't be a better time to do it. And then Thursday, we are heading down to Congress, and we are going to be in the congressional buildings, and we will be dropping off information and holding our representatives accountable to the now rights that medical cannabis patients have in this country, including being a part of the Americans with Disabilities Act, not being drug tested for their medicine, federal and state jobs. If you are not included as a medical patient in these spaces, you are now discriminated against, as if someone said any other medication that you were on would disqualify them from a job or housing or those types of things. So I'm going to be here for the rest of the afternoon embracing this monumental moment where now there's over 750 of us in this country. And it is now the time for all of us to be recognized and to step up and come into the spaces where your expertise in addition to what you came here with. So thank you so much for your time. I love this program. Welcome to the family, and I'll see you in a little bit.